All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Double honor to the apostles and those of great millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect. Okay, I'm the brother Atha from GMS Dallas, and I got the elder Atha here with me. We're continuing on the series of 2 Samuel, and chapter 14 is going to be the topic today. We went over chapter 13 last week, or last lesson, I'll say, and pretty much the whole situation with Tamar and Amnon, basically beginning those troubles that David was going to be facing, after the Bathsheba situation. So, Lord willing, this is edifying. I know the title says 13. We'll change actually, can we change the? Yeah, we'll change the title later. But it's chapter 14 we're going over today. All right.
I put 15, what I put 13?
Yeah, it's 13, but yeah, no, it's all good. It's so many, it kind of gets redundant over time, you know what I mean? But let me go and share my screen real quick, and we'll get straight to it. Share screen. Okay. All right. My brother should be able to see that here. All right, so we're going to start 2 Samuel 14:1. It says, now Joab, the son of Zeruiah, perceived that the king's heart was toward Absalom. Now, if you go back, let's go towards the tail end of chapter 13 real quick. All right, because chapter 13 was kind of like a longer chapter, but we went over it in detail, the situation, involving Absalom, all right, Amnon, and Tamar, right? All of these were David's children, okay? And so basically you had Absalom kill his brother Amnon because of the situation that happened with his sister, right? And so pretty much he fled after he had his brother killed by his servants. He fled to the land of Geshur, all right? And so it said he abode there for 3 years. And then it says, I'll read verse 39, 2 Samuel 13:39. And the soul of King David longed to go forth unto Absalom, for he was comforted concerning Amnon, seeing he was dead. So this is a key verse to understand the next chapter, okay? Because at the end of the day, it was still, Absalom was still David's son, right? Even though Absalom murdered his brother, right? Absalom murdered David's son. Okay, it was still, he still yearned for his son, right? So that's what it means when it says the king's heart was toward Absalom, right? Just like you would want your son to be in good graces with you, and vice versa. Okay, and so this is what Joab did. It says in verse 2, and Joab sent to Tekoa and fetched thence a wise woman and said unto her, I pray thee, feign thyself to be a mourner, and put on now mourning apparel, and anoint not thyself with oil, but be as a woman that had a long time mourned for the dead. So Joab came up with this plan to basically convince King David to basically bring Absalom back, because Joab was a very loyal servant in the sense of his mindset was protect King David at all costs, right? And even when it comes to he would even kill people, do things outside of David's commands, just to protect, from his perspective, just to protect the king, right? So he set up this plan to have this woman come and basically act as if, she was mourning, okay? And, when you had the way it was set up back then, you had the certain matters would be brought towards the king for him to judge, right? Just like how when you look at King Solomon, all right, and how he discerned that situation with the the two mothers and the one baby, right? Those were things that basically were judgments that were done. Okay. And so it says in verse 3, and come to the king and speak on this manner unto him. So Joab put the words in her mouth. So this is a lot of this chapter is narrative. So there's going to be a lot of reading. Of course, if precepts come up, then so be it. But a lot of this is going to be just kind of reading the situation. All right. So this is continuing on in 2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse 4. It says, and when the woman of Tekoa spake to the king, she fell on her face to the ground and did obeisance and said, help, O king. Now I want to get that word obeisance real quick. All right, because this was a custom. And when you read the history, you do pick up on a lot of customs that we did, just by seeing people's mannerisms and different things that they did. So it means to hold on, let me get the Hebrew word. Strong's H7812. It says shacha, and it means to bow down. Okay, to bow down, to prostrate oneself before a superior in homage, or before the Most High in worship, so on and so forth, right? So basically to bow down, right? In order to pay homage, right? So that was like a respect thing, all right? The woman came in a humble spirit, but this was all, you could say it was pretty much an act, because again, it says in verse 3, Joab put the words in her mouth. And these are the words that we're about to read. These are the words that Joab told her to say to the king. And again, it's important to stress that the reason why he did this is because he saw in verse 1, right? He saw that the king's heart was towards Absalom. And given the recent situation, being that he pretty much, Absalom pretty much banished himself, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't see the king's face. He didn't do nothing. He killed, and he had Amnon killed, and then he dipped out. You know what I'm saying? For a few years. Okay. So here you go. Verse 5. It says, and the king said unto her, what aileth thee? And she answered, I am indeed a widow woman, and mine husband is dead. By the way, footnote, Tekoa is the same area that is it Hosea? Who was of the Amos? Yeah, the Amos. He was of the herdmen of Tekoa. Okay, you go to Amos, the first chapter. All right. Let's see here. It says, verse 5, and the king said unto her, what aileth thee? And she answered, I am indeed a widow woman, and mine husband is dead. And thy handmaid had 2 sons, and they two strove together in the field. And there was none to part them, but the other smote the other and slew them. So again, we got to remember that Joab told this woman to go before the king and basically act as if she had this problem, this issue, right? So that the king could judge the matter. Okay. And so she's acting as if, she was widowed. Okay. And that she had 2 sons, and one of them killed the other, right? Basically, she had 2 sons and both of them fought, and one of them killed the other. Okay. And it says in verse 7, and behold, the whole family is risen against thine handmaid. And they said, deliver him that smote his brother, that we may kill him for the life of his brother whom he slew. Okay. So she's acting as if, again, her family was, coming up and saying, hey, look, bring the other son, because the law says thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not kill. So if you kill somebody, then you're supposed to be the avenger of blood is supposed to basically, take that person out. Okay. And it says, and we will destroy the heir also. And so shall they quench my coal which is left, and not leave to my husband neither name nor remainder upon the earth. So again, she's coming to King David with this this fictitious situation, basically to get him to judge a certain way, right? And so it says in verse 8, and the king said unto the woman, go to thine house, and I will give charge concerning thee. Okay, so he responded by saying, look, just go home, and then I'll send a messenger for you and tell you what to do. Right? It says in verse 9, and the woman of Tekoa said unto the king, my lord, O king, the iniquity be on me and on my father's house, and the king in his throne be guiltless. And the king said, whosoever saith aught unto thee, bring him to me, and he shall not touch thee anymore. Okay, now I want to pause there and get a little bit of the commentary. Oh gosh, I got to start all the way from the top. Let's see if I can find it. I didn't know it refreshed. Okay, we in Ruth. We're getting close. 1 Samuel. Let's scroll down here. 2 Samuel. All right, here we go. 2 Samuel. Okay, here we go. 2 Samuel, and we got this this chapter here. Okay, it says Joab apparently, I'm not the chapter, this paragraph. Joab apparently wanted to see some stability restored to the royal household, with one man firmly recognized as their heir to the throne. That man, in Joab's opinion, was Absalom. It says David made no attempt to bring Absalom back from exile because this would require him to sentence him to death for murder. Okay, so this kind of gives a little bit of a backdrop, or it kind of expounds on the situation.
Right.
You know, because, you know, again, Joab, he pretty much was like, hey, look, you know, King David, he's starting to falter in his decisions, and certain randomness is starting to happen. You know, he was like, all right, you know, the next person on the throne seems like Absalom, because when you read this chapter, it talks about how Absalom was the most handsome man in Israel, and he had the long hair, and he was a stud, right? So it's like, okay, obviously this got to be the one that's going to inherit, you know, the throne. So Joab was looking carnally, which we know Absalom wasn't the one that ended up inheriting. He wasn't the son that ended up inheriting the throne. Okay, and I'm gonna read a couple more sentences. It says, Joab therefore laid a plan that would enable the king to bring Absalom back safely. He used a woman to win from the king a judgment that in certain circumstances it was not wrong to show mercy to a murderer. It says the woman then used this principle that the woman then used this principle to show that David should allow Absalom to return. Now, this is the parts that, well, actually, I got a precept come to mind. Judgment, mercy rejoices over judgment. Okay, because that key part of the of that sentence there, I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. The key part to take away from that is he used a woman to win from the king a judgment that in certain circumstances it was not wrong to show mercy to a murderer. So basically, he's using the principle of mercy, right? And saying, look, have mercy on your son. That was Joab's position, right? Now let's get this scripture real quick. Judgment.
Man.
Pops up. Hold on. Why is it not popping up? Did I spell it wrong? Hold on. Here we go. There we go. All right. This is James chapter 2 and verse 13. Okay. Actually, I'll start at verse 10. It says, for whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all, right? Which we know all of us are concluded under sin because none of us are spotless. Each and every one of us have committed some type of transgression of the law at one point or another in our lives to make us guilty of all, guilty of transgressing, right? And so it says, for he that said, do not commit adultery, said also, do not kill. Now, if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law, right? It says, so speak ye and so do as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. Okay. And that law of liberty is basically grace. Okay. The grace period that we have to basically show Yahawashi that we truly have turned back from those things that we've done. Once we come into the understanding of the sacrifice that we have now, okay, through the sacrifice that Yahawashi made through his blood, we understand that, okay, we turn away from those things that we did in the old days, because we know that if we continue on this path, you know, basically the Lord's going to deliver those men that finish the race, okay, of faith. And now that's what this is talking about, okay. And here's the point. In verse 13, it says, for he shall have judgment without mercy that hath showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. Okay, so since King David received mercy for committing adultery and committing murder, okay, basically that whole situation that Joab set up for King David to judge, let David know that, you know what, the Lord have mercy on me, you know, it's okay to have mercy on my son. And David didn't want to kill Absalom. He knew that that was the only thing that he could really do. He didn't really have a choice to put him to death, because he murdered his
according to the law. Yeah, according to the law.
According to the law.
Yeah, if he'd have brought him back, he would have had to kill him. He'd have had to put him to death according to the law. So that's why he wasn't worried about him. You know what I'm saying? He was willing to let him just hope he find his way while he out there. You know what I'm saying? So if he do see him again, that it'll be in righteousness to where he could, you know what I'm saying, recover from that. But you know, of course, the story goes.
Yep. So that's, you know, so just kind of to give a backdrop, because I know we've been reading a lot, and you know, we may not have a whole bunch of precepts, but just to understand, we want to take it slow and make sure that this is all making sense. Okay. So it says back in 2 Samuel chapter 14, and where we at here? Verse 10. And the king said, whosoever saith aught unto thee, bring him to me, and he shall not touch thee anymore. So David was saying, hey, look, if anybody you know, tries to say, well, hold on, nah, who said that you got the authority to you know, prevent this from happening? David was like, hey, look, let me talk to him, and you're not gonna get dealt with no more. All right, nobody gonna come at you no more, because David he was the king. He had the ultimate authority, right? So he had that mercy, okay, for that mother's sake. Okay. It says in verse 11, then said she, this is the woman, I pray thee, let the king remember the Lord Yahawah thy power, that thou shouldest not suffer the revengers of blood to destroy any more, lest they destroy my son. And she was saying, and again, this is all, see, this is why you got to read the people try to skip and, you know, start at certain parts of the Bible, just open up the middle of the book and start reading. Yo, man, like if you don't understand the law and how the revengers of blood work, matter of fact, let's go to the cross reference real quick. Right. I'm pretty sure it's probably in there. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Deuteronomy. Okay. Yeah. 6. Okay. Deuteronomy. Yeah. I think it's like what we say.
I said verse 6.
Yeah. I'm gonna just keep it right here. Okay. Actually, let me see what I'm gonna talk about here. cities of refuge. Okay, this is a chapter that goes into that. Cities of refuge. Okay, so this is Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 4. It says, and this is the case of the slayer which shall flee thither, talking about the cities of refuge, that he may live. Whoso killeth his neighbor ignorantly, whom he hated not in time past, as okay, so this is, man, this is dope. When I first heard this, I was like, man, the Lord is deep. Like, he thought about everything, right. You know. So this is given a situation. This is in the law, given a situation of, like, you know, an accident. Basically, if you accidentally kill someone, which doesn't happen every day, right? But if that situation were to ever come up, okay, this is why when we go into the laws on, you know, the woman out in the field calling for help that was betrothed and this and that, like, this wasn't this. These were not everyday situations. But if it ever came up, right, which is it was in the law for a reason, right? Then this is how you judge. Okay. So it says, whoso killeth his neighbor ignorantly, whom he hated not in time past, as when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetcheth a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slippeth from the helve, and lighteth upon his neighbor that he die, he shall flee unto one of those cities and live. So again, this is an example of, and this verse 5 is an example of somebody basically, you know, accidentally killing somebody on accident. Like, and it doesn't happen every day. I know it sounds crazy, you accidentally kill somebody, but you know,
today they call it involuntary manslaughter.
See,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if it's an accident, then that's what they go with. You know, you got what's the other one? You got voluntary manslaughter.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the full details on that one, but I do know involuntary manslaughter, for example, is if two men having a fight. You know what I'm saying? And the guy defending himself hit the dude hard enough to where he kill him.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? You're just trying to get the dude up off you, but you know what I'm saying? When you hit him, he fell back, hit his head on the curb, cracked his head open. You know what I'm saying? And your intent was just to get him off you, but he ended up, it turned into all that.
Mm-hmm.
Is what this is going into.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this is an example of, you know, two men hewing down some wood, and you got, you know, the handle of the axe, you know, maybe might be loose or whatever, and the head of that axe slip off, you know, and randomly just so happened to and nothing's random, but I'm using air quotations, just so happened to hit somebody, crack somebody on top of the head to where they die, which that would have been the Lord's will, you know what I mean, to kill somebody like that, you know what I mean. Right. Then there was cities set up basically as a refuge, cities of refuge, right? And then it talks about the avenger of blood, right? Verse 6, it says, lest the avenger of blood, which lest means for fear of, or to prevent, okay, the anger, the avenger of blood, to pursue the slayer while his heart is hot, and overtake him because the way is long, and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death, inasmuch as he hated him not in time past. You see, so you don't just accidentally, murder somebody. You intentionally murder somebody. You can kill somebody on accident, but murder is voluntary.
Right.
Intentional. Right. So, and there's some other precepts on the avenger of blood thing, but, you know, I just want to get that. So just to get some backdrop. All right. So it says,
it's 6 o'clock.
Okay.
It's 6:03.
Oh yeah. Con. Yeah, we got time. We got a whole nother 30 plus minutes. All right. So it says in verse 12, then the woman said, let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak one word unto the Lord, unto my Lord the king. And he said, say on. It says, and the woman said, wherefore then hast thou thought such a thing against the people of the Most High? For the king doeth speak this thing as one which is faulty. Basically, she's basically challenging his decision to say, hey, look, you know, you're gonna protect me from and my son from being slain, right, by the avenger of blood, but you basically banished your son. You expelled him. If he come back, you would kill him, right? You, according to the law. So she's saying that's why she said that the king speak this thing as one which is faulty, because she's basically saying, you know, try not to just blatantly call him a hypocrite, but she's like, well, you judging one matter this way, but the similar matter you judging differently, right? And it says, I'm gonna continue this sentence: for the king doeth speak this thing as one which is faulty, and that the king doeth not fetch home again his banished, right? Because again, the reason behind David not sending for Absalom, right, is because, again, he knew according to the law that you know, you gotta put that person to death if they slew somebody in their wrath and in their anger because of their hatred, which Absalom committed a cold blood murder, man. You know what I'm saying? Because the scriptures say the vengeance is the Lord's, man. You see, like, just because
then it was like 2 years after the fact. He plotted it. You know what I'm saying?
That was first degree murder. You got second, third, and first degree. First degree, he intentionally was like, all right, look, I'm gonna go to my plan. We're gonna have this feast. We're gonna, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get him drunk. You know what I mean? And then I'm gonna tell my servants to go do this. And then he had the conspirators. Then servants were guilty of second degree, or either first or second degree murder too, because they had a hand in it too. You know what I mean? So that's like the same shit niggas do. Absalom was doing. That shows you, man, that, you know, so-called Negroes, that's Judah, man, because Jake be scheming and plotting. You know what I mean?
Yahawah.
Yeah. Yep. So it says, so she was basically calling him out on it in a respectful way, just bringing it to his attention. This was all, again, under the instruction of Joab, right? So it says in verse 14, this is her speaking still: for we must needs die, and are as water spilt on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again. Neither doeth the Most High respect any person, yet doeth he devise means that his banished might not be expelled from him. Okay, so when she says his banished, this is talking about Absalom. Okay, and basically she's saying that the Lord is, you know, given the opportunity to basically pardon this situation. She's basically kind of soothing him, and by saying, look, don't be like, I know that you worked up about it and this and that, you know what I mean? But, you know, the Lord is capable of mercy, you know what I mean? And you got to keep in mind, this was like 2 or 3 years after the situation had transpired. So this is like a total of like 5 years since, you know, the Amnon and Tamar situation. Okay. Because again, like you said, Zaquan, Absalom waited about 2 years to kill his brother, and then another 3 years passed while he was in Gesher. Okay. And so it says, verse 15, now therefore that I am come to speak of this thing unto my lord the king, it is because the people have made me afraid. And thine handmaid said, I will now speak unto the king, and it may be that the king will perform the request of his handmaid. So she like we say, that was cap. You know, that was basically a lie right there. She pretty much you know, she pretty much didn't tell the king openly. She didn't tell David openly that, you know, Joab sent her. You know what I'm saying? She was like, look, the reason why I came to you is because, you know, I feared the people, right? And she was like, look, I'm gonna come and speak to the king. Okay. And again, this whole situation was fictitious. Okay. So it says in verse 16, for the king will hear to deliver his handmaid out of the hand of the man that would destroy me and my son together out of the inheritance of the Most High. Then thine handmaid said, the word of my lord the king shall now be comfortable. For as an angel of the Most High, so is my lord the king to discern good and bad. Therefore, the Lord Yahawah thy power will be well with thee. So she was saying, look, you're so wise in judgment of being able to tell me what to do with my son. I think you should bring your son back, right? and so she had this grandiose speech, and then here's King David reply. It says, then the king answered and said unto the woman, hide not from me, I pray thee, the thing that I shall ask thee. And the woman said, let my lord the king now speak. So this is just basically saying, look, hey man, I'm about to ask you a question. Don't lie to me. Be straight with me. And she's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be honest. All right. And then King David said in verse 19, and the king said, it is not the hand of Joab with thee in all this? And the woman answered and said, Barak. And the woman answered and said, as thy soul liveth, my lord the king, none can turn to the right hand or to the left from aught that my lord the king has spoken. For thy servant Joab, he bade me, and he put all these words in the mouth of thine handmaid. So she came clean when David asked her straight. And that shows you, the level of discernment David had. He was like, man, Joab told you to say this shit, didn't you? Didn't he? And she was like, damn, yep, hey, you caught me. You know what I mean? So, that shows you.
The Joab made me do it.
Yeah. Joab made me do it, so she could go forth with no fear, because, it just was like, hey, look, Joab sent me, like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't come here to mess with you. Like, this is what Joab told me to do. Okay. And it says in verse 20, this is her speaking again still, to fetch about this form of speech hath thy servant Joab done this thing. Basically meaning, like, the reason why Joab made me come to you is because he wanted you to realize what you just said and come to the realization of the judgment that you just gave. It says, and my Lord is wise according to the wisdom of an angel of the Most High to know all things that are in the earth. Right. So basically that shows you that, David, he was good at discerning. Okay. And this is kind of like the second half of the chapter. All right. So again, the whole reason why, before we go into it, the whole reason why Absalom was not recalled up until this point was because he wasn't welcome back. You know what I mean? Like, basically, hey, if you killed your brother, I gotta get you up out of there. That was the spirit up until this point, right? So this was the turning point in the scenario. All right. So it says 2 Samuel 14:1, and the king said unto Joab, behold, now I have done this thing, and go therefore and bring the young man Absalom again. So now this is officially King David telling Joab, all right, look, I'm not going to put him to death. You know what I'm saying? According to your request, you know what I mean? Indirect request, you're right. I'll have mercy on him. He can come back into Israel, right? Come back to his house and his possessions, right? So it says in verse 22, and Joab fell to the ground on his face and bowed himself, right? He did obeisance. Okay, it says, and thanked the king. And Joab said, today thy servant knoweth that I have found grace in thy sight. Now, this shows you that Joab, he was still loyal to King David. He just wanted to basically perpetuate who he thought was going to be the heir of the throne. Okay. And so Joab was happy that King David changed his mind and basically let, Absalom back in and forgave him for what he did. Okay. It says, my Lord, O king, in that the king hath fulfilled the request of his servant. All right. So it says in verse 23, let me check, make sure we don't have any precepts. Let's see what we got. Okay, we got some precepts. Okay. Oh, James. Okay, the water. Oh yeah, yep. You can also say low hold on the altar. Okay, we'll get this one. Romans 12 and 19, real quick. Let me hide this. It says, Romans 12 and 19, dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith Yahawashi. So, right. So that's part of the law, man. You see?
Right, and King David adhered to that. You know what I'm saying? Because Joab wanted them to get rid of Absalom. He was like, look, man, you know what I'm saying? David had his stance on it, Joab had his, you know, and the Lord did play it out. You know what I'm saying? His vengeance ended up playing out on Absalom for what he did through Joab. You know what I'm saying? Let you know that the Lord is no respecter of persons. The Lord knew how much David loved Joab. I mean, the Lord knew how much David loved Absalom. He knew the dynamics of those relationships.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Absalom deserved to die for what he did. You know what I'm saying? And him putting the spirit on Joab to do it, and David had to just deal with it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. So let's go back to here. 2 Samuel, the water for precepts. Okay. All right. So you can see Joab was happy, right? 2 Samuel 14 and 23. So Joab arose and went to Geshur and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. So he brought him back to the same city where his father was. Okay. And it says in verse 24, and the king said, let him turn to his own house and let him not see my face. So Absalom returned to his own house and saw not the king's face. So, basically, David allowed Absalom to come back into the city. Okay, but he was like, look, I don't need to talk to him. I'm good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not good, but basically, like, don't even bring him here. Like, he knows what he did. You know what I mean? Like, when you betray a man, you know what I mean? Or you feel betrayed, I'll say, by a man, you don't even want to, certain things, just like, you don't even want to that level. Like, somebody killed your son, and it was your own son that did it. But, that's a really heavy situation, right? So David was like, look, it's sufficient enough that I spared his life and I let him back into the city. We don't need to talk right now. You know what I mean? So, and that was the commandment. That was the the command that went out. So Absalom, rebellious ass, that he rebelled against that order. Okay. But continuing on in verse 25, it says, but in all Israel, there was none to be such praised as Absalom for his beauty. So so you see, he was the most GQ, handsomest Israelite on the face of the earth. All right, according to the scriptures.
Yeah, he was the Don Dada.
Yeah, the perfect, physique or whatever you want to think of, right? It says from the sole of his foot, even to the crown of his head, there was no blemish in him, right? So you might think to yourself, why would the Lord make? Because if you know anything about Absalom, you pretty much know he's a rebellious scumbag. Which, if you don't, we're gonna get into it, in the next lessons. Okay, but you should know about Absalom, okay, because basically that physical, the physical appearance that he had, that can get to your head, man. That can get you thinking pridefully. You know what I mean? That can get you thinking that you're above certain individuals because, because you got certain physical features, right? But the scriptures say what the Lord looks not on the outward appearance, but on the inward man. Okay, so that kind of, you could say, probably was like a stumbling block to Absalom, because he was like, man, I'm the son of the king, man. I'm the most, handsomest of them all. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Looking ass, right? So it says, verse 26, and when he polled his head, which means to cut, when he polled his head, for it was at every year's end that he polled it, because the hair was heavy on him, Therefore he polled it. He weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels after the king's weight. Now, I didn't look it up. Let's see if they have anything on the 200 shekels. Okay.
Let's see what the NIV say. I'm gonna see what the NIV say.
Yeah, two and a half pounds. This is 2 Samuel 14 and 26. So yeah, it says basically 12 pounds is probably the king's shekel was the half of an ounce to okay 4 pounds and 2 ounces or 3 pounds. Okay.
That's a lot of hair.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, you know, he cut his hair once a year. I mean, shit, y'all brother seen I had grew my hair out for a year. You can see how fast your hair grow out in a year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, you know, maybe a few pounds, you could say, right? You know, we're far removed from these weights that are used, because even in the commentary, you know, you can see it got different measurements of shekels and stuff like that. So anyway, we just know he cut his hair once a year. Okay. And basically, so, you know, we had the, you know, like how the Instagram niggas be like, you know, they got the curly, like, you know, the nice little hair, you know what I'm saying? Or I had like the, you know, the little mini fro at one point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you know, girls like, you know, brothers that have ever had, you know, actually grew their hair past a certain point. You know, girls, they like niggas with hair and stuff. You know what I mean? But anyway, just trying to bring life to it. You know what I mean?
2 Samuel, 14:26. It said he cut his hair only once a year, and then only because it was so heavy. When he weighed it out, it came to 5 pounds.
Yeah. So that's a lot of hair, man. I mean, shoot. I mean, I'm just speaking from experience. When I cut my hair, after several months of growing it, like I cut it in my bathroom, so it was like a nice pile of hair, like in my sink. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean. Maybe it could have weighed a couple pounds. You know.
Now, when I was in high school, I graduated. Let me see. When I graduated, I grew my hair for like 7-8 years after I graduated. Yeah, from the time the haircut I got, the last haircut I got for graduation, I didn't get no more haircuts until like 7-8 years later. You know what I'm saying? And when I tell you my hair was this damn big, you know what I'm saying? When I finally cut it off, I think I was able to fill up a trash bag.
Damn.
One of those like the waste basket in the classroom and shit.
Yeah.
I was able to fill up a trash bag. So that probably weighed about a good 2 or 3 pounds.
Yep.
But it said it was like that every year.
Yeah.
So his hair was growing way faster than ours.
Yeah, kind. Hey, show the soldier Yahawashi said a jawline, nigga. Yeah, man. The fucking Trey Songz, goddamn handsome Squidward looking at nigga, man. You know, but hey, you know, it is what it is, right? So but that shows you that nothing is new under the sun, man. You know, you always had them guys, man, like, you know, what's that dude in Shrek 2, the prince that was trying to marry Fiona? I can't remember the name of that handsome ass prince or whatever.
Oh yeah, you know? I can't either. But I know
y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, you always have them guys, right? So it says in verse 27, and unto Absalom there were born 3 sons and one daughter, whose name was Tamar. Okay, she was a woman of a fair countenance. Now, he basically named his daughter after Tamar, right? After his sister. He named, his daughter after his sister, right? And she was pretty, right? So it says, verse 28. So Absalom dwelt 2 full years in Jerusalem and saw not the king's face. So now you have 2 years from Amnon and Tamar, plus three more years. So that's 5 years. So 7 years really from chapter 13, which is the previous chapter, up until this point where we're reading right now. So that shows you how, you know, time goes, man. In the Bible, it can skip. Okay. It says, therefore Absalom sent for Joab. It says, therefore Absalom sent for Joab to have sent him to the king, but he would not come to him. And when he sent again the second time, he would not come. So, you know, basically Absalom was like, yo, hey, Absalom. Absalom was like basically reaching out to Joab saying, hey, look, you brought me from Geshur. Why the hell I can't talk to my father? I thought I was good. Right. And basically Joab didn't even come to him. So Absalom felt like he wasn't getting enough respect. Right. So Absalom being a nigga, this is what he did. It says, therefore, he said unto his servants, okay, see, Joab's field is near mine, and he hath barley there. Go and set it on fire. And Absalom's servants set the field on fire. So he literally, Absalom pretty much just had his servants set Joab's field on fire just to get him to get a conversation with him, to get his attention. Right? That's niggerish, man. You know what I mean? So it says verse 31. See, because you know, that shows you, man. The Bible shows you how to act and how not to act, man. You know what I mean? Like here it is. Absalom, he was receiving mercy. He was allowed to come back into his house, have his woman, right, this, you know, his possessions, and that wasn't enough for him, right? He was entitled. You see, he felt overly entitled. So it says, verse 31, then Joab arose and came to Absalom unto his house and said unto him, wherefore have thy servants set my field on fire? And Absalom answered Joab, behold, I sent unto thee, saying, come hither, that I may send thee to the king, to say, wherefore am I come from Geshur? It had been good for me to have been there still. Now, therefore, let me see the king's face, and if there be any iniquity in me, let him kill me. Right? So the whole proposition of Absalom was like, look, you know, you petitioned to have me brought from Geshur, and I ain't even able to see my father to talk about, you know what I'm saying, whatever. Like, I've been here 2 years. You know what I'm saying? This was Absalom's point. He was like, look, I've been here 2 years. You know what I mean? I sent for you twice. You just ignored me. So yeah, I set your shit on fire, Joab. So this dude was wild, man. Absalom was crazy, right? It says, and he was like, look, if there's anything, you know, that I've done that's worthy of death, let me be put to death. Let him kill me. You know what I'm saying? You know, Absalom was like, hey, well, yo, Joab, you so scared for me to get put to death. If I've done anything worthy of being put to death, then let the king kill me. Right? And that was Joab's, you know, fear. He was like, look, you know, like, hey, the king specifically requested not to see your face. Right? So he was at that conflict. So, but this is what happened. So he went to the king, right? Verse 33, last verse in the chapter says, so Joab came to the king and told him, and when he had called for Absalom, he came to the king and bowed himself on his face to the ground before the king, and the king kissed Absalom. So there you have that whole situation, chapters 13 and now this chapter 14 of this crazy fiasco that you know, Absalom had caused, right? Because obviously the Amnon and the Tamar situation, that was outside of Absalom's control. Okay, but he couldn't let it be there. He couldn't just let the Lord work, right?
They said you can't leave well enough alone.
Yeah. I know Texas brothers got the metaphors down, the water. Yeah, he couldn't leave well enough alone. You know what I mean? And just, you know, chill. He had to take shit into his own hands, and now all this craziness, and now he's, you know, a dead brother in a burnt up field later, and 7 years later, now he's finally, or 5 years later, now he's finally back in the good graces you know, you could say with his father, okay, because when it said the king kissed Absalom, that's basically a custom, because, you know, there was something recent going on, people talking about the kissing thing. That was a custom. It wasn't on the lips, okay, it was on the cheek or whatever, you know, basically showing that acceptance, you know what I mean? Right. And really that's it. Let me see if the commentary has anything else to say to it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and get this here. Oh, we got a precept. Prince Charm, yeah, the water, brother. Okay, yeah, let's get this real quick. Romans 15 and 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Yeah, because you can draw a lot of connections to, you know, similar situations. And this is the importance of the history being in the Bible. So that way you know how to judge. You know what I mean? Like even when we read in a chapter of Bathsheba, David referenced the history of something that happened in Judges about a war tactic of not coming near a wall, you know what I'm saying, when you're besieging it, not to come up right directly up underneath the wall to where somebody can just throw a stone on their head. You know, like that's just a small example. But, you know, for some reason, our people, we just, you know, we don't really get into the history like that. And not even just talking about this, just even just the prophecies and everything in general. You got to understand, you know, the way that everything was running back then to really fully grasp the prophecies, man. So the water for that. Let me just finish off here with this.
So another thing you take from this, man, your kids ain't gonna be in the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just because you in the truth, trying to walk a righteous path, don't mean your kids gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? They got to work out their own salvation with fear and trembling too. So, you know, we've had countless. What was it? Eli kids was out of pocket. David had some kids out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? You got men that's considered righteous in the eyes of the Heavenly Father who kids was terrible. Right. You know, and it is what it is. Mm-hmm. So when Yahawashi said those that can't forsake mother or father or family or children or all those different things, you're not worthy to be my disciple. You know what I'm saying? You start to see those things play out, because by the time Yahawashi hit the scene as Yahawashi, you know what I'm saying? He knew all the history and all that, and how those behaviors can affect us. You know? Yep. So that's another thing. You know, if all you can do, I'll say the best you can do is pray for your family and leave it in the Lord's hands. Mm-hmm. You know, but don't be surprised. I would say don't be surprised if you have a wayward child. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, that's why the scriptures say train up a child in the when he is young, you know, in the way that he should go.
And then you also got the curses, to where they ain't gonna be trying to hear none of that. Mm-hmm. And that separation and the detachment is gonna be there. Mm-hmm. You know, so hey, it is what it is. You know, if the situation is cool and you got a good situation, that's cool. But if the situation is rocky and all jacked up, you got to be able to accept that too. You know,
Con, I want to get some of this, and really this will be it after I read this commentary. That'll be all I got, but it does have some good stuff on here. Going to Bridgeway commentary, last two chapters of this section here, underneath David's family troubles begin. It says, although David realized that he had been tricked by Joab into making this judgment, he stuck to his decision and allowed Absalom to return. However, he did not allow Absalom to enter into the royal court. In this way, he showed first, because Jerusalem wasn't just like a 1 square mile, or a half a square mile city. Okay, it was pretty big, and it had sections, right? You had the royal court, which was the king's residence, right? And then you had other other residences along it. Regular citizens would live outside of the royal court. So it says, let's see here. Oh, right. It says, in this way, he showed firstly that he had not forgiven his son, and secondly, that he did not consider Absalom a suitable person to succeed him as king. Okay. So it doesn't explicitly say that in the, in the chapter, but you can extrapolate and see, hey, look, this isn't something that David that he backed up. This isn't something that he basically stood for, right? He didn't like the fact that Absalom did that. It says, whatever David's opinion of Absalom might have been, the people in general were impressed by his handsome appearance. He was also ambitious and was becoming impatient for power. He had spent 3 years in exile and another 2 years back in Jerusalem, yet he still had not been accepted by the king. Right? And we watched
entitlement. He felt entitled.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I murdered my brother, but he buried my sister, so I had to do something.
Right.
Yep. He felt justified in that act. Okay, well, you feel justified in that act. Well, according to the law, you're supposed to be out of there too.
Mm-hmm.
And you think you're supposed to be king? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Are you serious?
Yep.
You better be glad I let you back in Jerusalem.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yep, exactly. It says he decided that he would wait no longer, talking about Absalom. When Joab showed an unwillingness to give him further help, he persuaded Joab to take notice of him by burning Joab's fields. Without delay, Joab arranged for him to meet the king, with the result that received the king's pardon. His fierce ambition had at last brought him back into the royal court. Okay, so this is why when we read about, Joab's legacy that he left on the earth, okay, I'm sorry, not Joab, I meant to say Absalom. When we read about Absalom and the legacy that he left on the earth and the way that he went out, we see the events that led up to that was basically Absalom being a badass kid, and then his father ending up pardoning him. Okay, and that's pretty much the ingredients that led to the events that we're going to get into, Lord willing, and in the next lesson. So that was all I had. Zaquan, did you have any other points? Okay.
I would say when you go back and read these stories, man, you see what it is. Mm-hmm. And then the laws start to come into play, mercy start to come into play, judgment start to come into play. You see, and all these different things that we talk about in the scriptures, you start to see them play out. But you gotta go back into the history to be able to see that. You know what I'm saying? I would say badass kids didn't start with GMOs. No. It's been badass kids on the planet.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah, I don't got nothing else.
Okay, Khan. Hey, well, Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson. Barak. With that, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.